Hi there, this is Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, Women on TV.tv, Worldwide TV Network, iTube 247 out of Franklin, Tennessee. And today's guest is Neil DeMonte with our co-host Sherry Nelson out of Vancouver, Canada, and Terri Marie, nonstop, out of Redondo Beach, California. Neil, welcome to Movie Reviews and More.
Cool, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, let's talk about what you have going up because I've seen a couple of your movies. Talk about when you say storyboarded, because I've seen the stuff that you storyboarded, and I love anything that's on Amazon, but I haven't been watching Amazon lately because of all the other stuff that's been coming my way. Because Amazon's get great shows. Talk about that.
Yeah, basically, do you want to know about the storyboarding process and what that is? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, for the audience, yep.
Yeah, basically, what I do is I work with the directors and producers, and I basically kind of have them come up with their vision. So anything you watch on TV or in theaters or in movies, every frame of film that you see is something that I basically drew out for them before they even shot the movie. It's kind of like a comic book template. It's almost like making a comic book of what the film is going to look like, and you kind of show like movement and like what the camera angles are going to be. So that way the director can take it and communicate to the actors and cast and the crew and show them exactly what the movie's going to look like before anything's ever been shot. So basically everything that you see on TV is something that someone like me has drawn previously so that everything kind of fits together. So you have to be able to have really good storytelling skills to be able to do that kind of a job. And yeah, that's what we do before we actually get before it actually goes up on screen. It's like a template, like a blueprint, if anything.
Neil, I don't know if you can turn your volume up. You've got so much to say. You're so accomplished. I wanted our audience, I don't know if you can turn up your sound. I wanted our audience to know that Neil DeMonte, we're fortunate that he's here. He's the multi-talented producer, director, actor. He's an artist. He's a musician. He's a past semi-pro BMXer.
Wow.
And Brian, he's a drummer.
He's jack of all trades.
Thanks. Yes, whatever gets the money coming in. So it's like it's kind of a nice thing because you have to kind of keep your skills up all the time, but it's kind of like if, like in the summertime, usually, all the COVID thing happened, you usually go out on tour. So you're in the summertime, I'm usually busy working on movies, and when I have breaks in between that, I go out on tour for a while. So it's kind of like when one job gets slow, another one picks up. So it's kind of been working like that for the last couple of years. That's why you can keep steadily employed through the entire time, through the whole year.
Neil, you've done horror and you've done comedy. What's your favorite type of movie to direct and produce or create?
Probably action and horror are my two favorites. I really like sci-fi too. It's so hard to sell, but I love the sci-fi genre too. But yeah, action and horror are the two things I really love because I grew up on movies like Die Hard and all the Arnold Schwarzenegger films. And with horror films too, like my mom and dad, when I was a kid, probably not good parenting advice, but but yeah, like we were raised on TV shows like the Kolchak, the Night Stalker, and Dark Shadows, and we used to watch like Son of Svengoolie back when I was a kid, and Elvira. So all those kind of shows are the ones that kind of influenced me into getting to that genre in the first place. Like just kind of like you kind of watch that and kind of enact them out with your toys and everything, start doing scenarios and playing around with them. And then like it's funny because all of those same things I was doing back then are what I'm doing now to come up with camera shots for everything. You just kind of like, you get a script and, read it and break it down into what you want to do and then go, okay. And then you're basically using the same ideas and principles you established as a kid playing with toys. Only now I'm getting paid to do it, which is a nice thing to do. It's like being a big kid all the time. Yeah.
So did you raise BMX as when you were younger? Are you still doing it, or what? Kind of tell us the story on that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm kind of interested.
Oh yeah, when I was younger, I used to race for GT Haro and just doing like dirt bike stuff, not so much stunt stuff, but just full on racing. Because as you can tell, I'm like over caffeinated. But yeah, so I was drinking coffee since I was like 3 years old. So like I just never, it was like all the time. So I had to take out all that energy. So like when I got a BMX bike, I was like totally into like bicycling and like jumping over things, like running at full speed. So I kind of got into it that way. And but yeah, I've been on a bike a couple times since then, but now it's like more motorcycles, if anything. I just go like riding with friends and things like that. But like yeah, like actually bike riding is fun. Because I would like to get a bike in LA, but the bad thing is they get stolen so quickly. So you know, I heard like if you literally chain it outside, if you go to Venice, for example, go inside to get coffee and come back, you'll have like the 2 wheels there and like the bike's gone. It's like that bad. So like I'm just trying to, you know, I'll see if I can get like a cheap bike at some point in time, because from what I've been hearing from friends of mine, I know it's going to get stolen. So that's why I didn't bother to really get one right now, if anything. But yeah, it was a fun thing to do. It's kind of like a good way to get your aggressions out. And, you know, go, like there's a thing in Chicago called Warren Park Hill. So my friends and I used to walk our bikes up to the top of the hill. It's usually used for sledding in the wintertime, but in the summertime, it's just a big grassy hill. And we would pedal down that at full speed, just like launch. And I mean, it's funny too, because you see like this, like an old couple will be sitting by the picnic tables like this. And all of a sudden you'll go like right past them and see them all like launch their coffee cups in the air. It's kind of a lot of fun back there.
So how is this COVID thing affecting you? How are you getting through it?
It's really difficult right now because where everything like one of my friends works at a very big production company, and they rent out cameras and things like that too, and leasing stuff. And yeah, what's really keeping anything going right now, like especially in LA, is what's called isolated commercials. So they'll have like a director on a Zoom call, kind of like this, and they'll have like a director of photography somewhere else. So the director will sit there and like work everything out and say action, and the director of photography and a sound guy will mic up some actors and have them kind of like walking alone, like in the background, doing things like that. The term is called isolated commercials. So in Los Angeles right now, it's pretty dead. I mean, like there's other states that are opening up. So a lot of productions from LA are going to other states, we're doing I can't say what the company is, but one of the companies I work with was actually doing a movie that was supposed to be shot in Los Angeles. The whole production got shut down. So in like March, and everyone was all bummed out about it. But then they got a location to go shoot it in Utah. Production picked up again. They all moved out to Utah to go film it, because here in LA everything's closed. Back in LA everything was all closed up and everything, so we couldn't shoot anything. So there's other states like Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Georgia that are opening up. So people are kind of going over there. But LA is like just dead right now. And I understand with all the stuff going on with COVID, they want to maintain the spread, so it's good just to be healthy. Just like just if you're going to shoot something somewhere else, definitely do that. So it's been a little bit rough on that end too, but just with any business too, music, oh my gosh, it's like nobody can really go touring right now. That's really difficult. So yeah, the entertainment industry is kind of like quiet for right now, but I'm sure things will pick up for the next couple of months. We just want to get this thing contained first.
Yeah. Well, it's hard too for everybody. I mean, I have a background in acting. I'm a competitor in NPC bikini. So I'm into fitness and all that stuff. So I'm like, I need to be out there. So it's really hard for me not to be out there. So Brian's laughing at me. So I'm putting all my energy into making TikTok videos. So that's my
which
thing.
I think is great, by the way.
Somebody who.
Yeah, it is. A lot of people are good.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't think it's going to get banned. I mean, the whole thing where I'm hearing is, Google is probably going to end up buying them. I have a friend who's a corporate attorney for them. But I mean, as an actor or as performer or as a fitness person, you have to have some outlet where to get out there to perform, or to be in front of an audience. Otherwise, you kind of go crazy because that's what you love to do. So that's why I was asking, like, how are you mentally dealing with,
Yeah, well, it was funny. Have any of you seen a movie called Unfriended by Blumhouse by any chance?
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole thing was done almost like a quarantine thing. So they've been doing a lot of stuff like that. Like there's a movie on Shudder right now that they filmed during quarantine called The Host, where they had have you heard of it or seen it by any chance? Anybody?
No, I've seen it. Yeah.
I've seen Unfriended.
Yeah, it's
but
kind of like that. They have like these. There's I think 5 women. They're all together on a Zoom call, and they all decide to do a séance, and they're all like isolated in their own places. And they filmed it, and like something goes obviously bad during the séance, like everybody starts getting wiped out. So they're doing stuff a lot like that now. They're called quarantine films. So each actor will be in their own environment, and they would just have the camera and they would film it and just kind of pre-plan everything. Then they kind of edit it all together and make a film out of it. And that was actually done pretty well. I saw it just a couple nights ago. I had some really good creepy shots in it too, and they did a pretty good job for it being under quarantine. And it came out on Shudder. It's doing pretty well. Like everyone I know who's seen it, who run like all the film festivals, been saying it's been doing really good. It scared them, so I decided to take a chance and watch it. It was done very well. But yeah, it was kind of like along the same lines as Unfriended. So I think there'll be some stuff coming out like that pretty soon too. I think a lot of people right now are actually planning like how could we accomplish something with keeping individual actors in their own environment. And you can cheat that too. As a director, you just have to plan. Like if you want to have 2 people together, maybe you shoot them in a wide shot, and like have them both in the scene, like, you know, apart from
Mhm.
each other. Then you go into close-ups. You'll have like someone here kind of like, you can dress like a dummy, or even having them wear the outfit on this side of the camera, and have the actor reacting to it by talking to them like this. And so it looks like both people are still in the same room, but they're not. So that's how you cheat that kind of a thing. But yeah, that's how that I've been seeing a lot of stuff like that coming up now too. So I think we're going to be seeing a rash of films coming out that's going to have that kind of a thing,
You know,
that kind of a prevalence.
Neil, it's a great
I
time
mean, it's going to work because, you know, that's what everybody's living with.
Hmm?
Go on, Brian. I'm sorry.
I said, Neil, you know, it's a great time to come up with horror stuff. I see Jason Blum starting to come out with 8 to 10 shows or movies of things what he wants to put in. I can only imagine what you and then what Roth is coming in, because I know how Enai's, you know, his mind works when it comes to putting his stuff together with sci-fi or horror. Can you talk about a little bit of what you guys are about ready to do?
Yeah, we're I guess without giving too much away, we're so I'm working with Sony at a company called Robots of Awesome, and the head producer there, Jacob Silver, is the guy I'm working with. I'm also working with a sales agent, and right now we're focusing, even though we want to do horror projects, we're actually focusing right now on doing sustained action films. So that's based on The Raid, things along those lines. Where, even like the original Rambo First Blood movie, it's kind of like that. You have like a character like in a small town, you've only got a certain number of people up to, like, you know, get that character. So we're actually putting some film projects together like that right now, and we're working with director Ethan Manaqui, who is the co-director of Machete. I'm sure you've all seen that. So we're doing one project that we ideally want to be shooting in Mexico with him, and another one in Canada. So right now we're just kind of waiting for the borders to open, but we're just making offers to actors right now for those two projects. And both are action films too, so we're pretty excited about it. Like, one is called Kill Kick, and the other one is we just got the script into. I still have to read that one too. Right now we're focusing on the Kill Kick one that's supposed to be shooting in Mexico. So yeah, so I think sustained, well, like for what we're personally doing, sustained action is what we're going for right now. But then we eventually want to get back into doing producing horror films too. There's a lot of friends of mine that I've worked with over the years started off by doing these smaller horror films, and now they're becoming successful, like, you know, like Hollywood, like big time, like Hollywood directors. So what we're doing as a company, we want to have them come work with us and do a project with a smaller budget, but then they get free rein to do whatever they want. We won't have like big producers telling them you have to do this, have to do that. We'll actually have them call their own shots. So there's with the two studios that we're doing stuff with right now, we have some potential remakes that we want to do. So we're gonna like pitch those ideas to some of my director friends and see if they'd like to do that with us. So that would become a fun thing for them to do too, because they won't have like a big time producer, like, you know, like on them the whole time saying you have to do this, have to do that. They can kind of have free reign to do whatever they want and have some fun with it.
Neil, talk about your directing. What is it like to direct these days now? What is that like?
Well, I haven't directed. Well, I'm supposed to be directing a commercial, but, like, you know, but sadly that's on hold right now until we get everything worked out with the COVID situation. But directing is actually a challenge. I mean, like, if that's what you were asking about, there's because like when you're storyboarding, one of my friends who's a pretty popular artist, Bill Stout, who designed stuff for like Jurassic Park and everything. I remember he told me a long time ago, storyboarding is like directing on paper. And what's funny is he storyboarded the very first Rambo film, and I storyboarded the last Rambo film. So we have a fun bond there. So so anyway, like, it's like when you're drawing stuff, you have to kind of think, how can they actually film this thing? So you have to kind of like think. I mean, my thing is, if you can draw it, you can film it. So you have to be kind of creative with that aspect of it. So when I started working as a director, the very first thing that I did was the episode of a TV series we're pitching right now called Frontmen, which is a political comedy. So as a director, you've got to sit there and think, okay, there's a lot of dialogue going on where political people would be into it, but then like the layman would not really, they want more of the humor. So you kind of have to think to yourself, okay, there's a lot of political dialogue going on. How can I make the shot interesting so that people who are not interested in politics would be interested? So then you'd kind of think to yourself, okay, well, what if I do some cutaways of the two characters who are like, if there's one character talking about politics and things like that and touchy subject matter, you can always do cutaways to the other characters reacting to it, making funny faces and everything. And then the audience who is not interested in politics would actually be interested in, you know, the two characters reacting to everything and getting a laugh out of it. So you have to kind of think in those lines when you're directing, like how am I going to transition from one shot to the next and keep the story going. Like what I've discovered is, as a storyboard artist, is turn the sound off. If you shoot a couple of scenes together and watch them, and if you can watch it without the sound on and you can tell what's going on, you've done a good job. If not, go back and reshoot stuff, because like sometimes you can just tell if you watch certain movies, if you turn the sound off, you don't know what's going on. And in my opinion, I think that's kind of that's a bad thing too, because you want to be able to communicate what's going on visually without using any kind of sound. So then, of course, when you turn the sound on, you can be, okay, I see what they're saying now too. But you want to like make sure you know, without the sound on, if you have people reacting to certain things, and you know, because acting is reacting, so you want to make sure the actors are acting with each other, but also reacting to whatever their co-star is saying back and forth. So you have to think of all these things as a director and make sure you catch everything. So like if you have someone doing something on camera too, and it doesn't transition over to that scene, then you have to go back and go, okay, great. So what are we missing from here? They have a thing called an insert shots. So if someone's putting keys into a door, for example, turning the door to open the door to lead from one room into the next, you want to make sure you like, you know, you show that whole thing happening. If not, you've got to go back and add like an insert shot, which is a close-up shot of the hand kind of going into the key and unlocking the door, and the door, you know, pulling out the key and the door opening up again. So you have to kind of really think of all these things. So when I did the very first episode, we used a different director of photography, and then when we had to go back and reshoot stuff, the guy that I worked with the second time, who knows what he's doing, actually said, yeah, you have to go back and add all these things in because the audience can't tell. So for me, that's failing. I failed as a director because I didn't do these things. So I had someone kind of correct me on that. And then when I went back and did that and trained myself how to think like that, everything went a lot smoother. So now after doing a couple of things, I kind of know what to look for. You have to kind of keep, it's like storyboarding actually really helps. I mean, drawing little doodles of how every shot's supposed to be in order. It's like a nice template to have that. When you have that on set with you, you kind of know what you're supposed to be doing. So I'm a big believer in that. But that's kind of how I do it to prepare for shooting scenes. You want to make sure you have like a nice little template of everything before you actually go out and shoot.
Neil, what is your preferred? Do you prefer storyboarding, directing, producing, acting? What is your preferred aspect within your industry?
Right now it's directing, because I'm still new, and I'm still very new at it, and I'm still learning a lot. So for me, it's like it's more of a challenge now, because like I can't really do more as an artist. I mean, like I've done a lot of films. I worked on Star Wars. In fact, yeah, if I tilt this up, this is that's actually a painting that was not used in episode 1 for
oh wow,
Phantom Menace. That's right, say not Imperial. It's a Naboo prison. Yeah. Oh, did the video cut out? I'm sorry.
I lost you guys.
Sorry, something happened with the video. When I did that thing, I turned it up. It just cut off. Sorry about that.
Okay.
But yeah, I like the thing with movies is like, I mean, I'm so good at storyboarding and drawing and stuff like that. So I want like the next challenge. So directing now, it's like I'm like a little fish in a gigantic ocean of people who've done more than I have. So since I just started doing it, it's challenging to me now, going, okay, can I draw these things, and now can I actually get them up on film? That's the challenge. So I think directing is actually pretty fun. It's a lot of work though. I mean, good Lord. I never realized when after working with all my friends who are directors, there's a director named Scott Spear that I worked with, who's actually a good friend of mine, and he's actually like kind of like my mentor. He's kind of sat me down and taught me how to do all these different things. And he's such a personable guy. He's really sweet. Like even when he's under high stress, he'll always take the time to talk to you. And we were working remotely in Canada, actually. I was actually here in LA for a few weeks before I went up there. And we were doing a movie called Midnight Sun. And that was, I think, his first big movie. It was a $1 million film with Patrick Schwarzenegger and Bella Thorne. And with that movie, it was, oh my gosh, it was crazy, because it was his first time doing a feature film. He'd done a lot of TV before that. So what happened was, when we were doing the film, I was storyboarding. Like he'd call me at night and say, do these scenes. And then I would storyboard the scenes, and like I would get the call sheet. The call sheet is basically, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a sheet that comes in the night before of what you're all going to be shooting and filming the next day. So a lot of movies, except for Stanley Kubrick, a lot of movies are not shot in order. So whatever you see on film, they're not shooting it from beginning to end. They're shooting bits and pieces. Then in editing, they put them all together. So what I would do is I would get a call from Scott saying, work on scene 56, 85, 32, 1, and 6 tonight. So I'll go in the script and I'll look it all out, and I'll get that call from him at around like 6 p.m. and when he's on a break while they're filming, right? So I would go and storyboard and draw all those shots out, and then have to email it to him by 4 o'clock in the morning, so that he has it by 7 a.m. so we can show the crew what we're doing, what he's doing that day. It was crazy. But yeah, he was always very personable, always a sweet guy, always made time to talk. But I remember 3 weeks later, I called him and I got a hold of him on the weekend, and they had like only that Sunday off. He was actually doing laundry for the first time in 3 weeks. And he was like, yeah, man, he's like, it's an exhausting shoot. And he's like, yeah, it's hard because like, if I didn't, and he's a really sweet guy. He said like, if I didn't have you doing these things every day, we would not have been able to get this movie done. And it was really nice at the premiere too, in front of everybody at the audience. He actually thanked me and said like, I would have never been able to get this movie done without Neil, because we had to do everything like literally the night before. And within 3 hours, you have just enough leeway to fix something. So at 7 o'clock in the morning, when they had the team meeting, the storyboards are there every night. So like, you're just praying like that the scanner works on your computer and everything, so you can scan things in or send cell phone scans to make sure that he gets everything on time. And it was crazy, but like seeing it, but yeah, you're basically in charge as a director. You're basically in charge of everything but the catering. Like everyone is coming up to you, asking you questions all the time. So like what I've seen from what I've seen on being on set is like, the director's got a lot of stuff to do. So you have like the team around you is your director of photography, your unit production manager, and your assistant directors. So only they are allowed to talk to you. So anybody else, like cast members, whatever, they've got to talk to like the makeup people, wardrobe, stylists, production designers. They have to kind of like talk to those people to get to you first. Because if you're dealing with everybody at the same time, you'll never get around to shooting the film. Yeah. So the people that are close to you have to kind of deal with everybody around you. Then they'll come to you and propose the ideas to you. Then you can have, during breaks, you can go off and talk to them. So you have to have a good team of people around you. So without having that, you'd go completely nuts. You'd never be able to get anything done because like everyone's coming at you from every possible angle. But the caterers, that's their own thing. So yeah, it's crazy, but it's fun. Once you kind of get used to it, it's not as like, it's like a controlled chaos is the best way to describe it. It's just, as long as you kind of like know what you're getting into and have a plan of action for every day, you should go pretty cool. But like, honestly, having a good team around you is the best thing to kind of make that job to fruition.
I don't know if anyone, I'm sorry, Brian?
Oh, no, go ahead, Sherry.
I was reading about you, Neil, and just for the next drafter of the Trivial Pursuit, Neil performed in Pirates of the Caribbean,
Awesome.
2 and 3. He was a pirate.
Yep.
And how did it feel when Sylvester Stallone approached you? I'm not sure what movie set you might have been on, but when he approached you to consider acting.
Well, he actually was, he was the one who actually told me, I worked with him on the last Rambo, not the last Rambo film, the one right before that, Rambo 4, I believe that was. And I got called in. I was only on that movie for like 2 weeks, and I didn't know what I was doing. I got this email out of nowhere saying, "What's your rate and are you available?" through a friend of mine. And he goes, "Yeah, okay, be at this location." So I drove down to like, what was it? I think it was like, it was West Hollywood, I think. So I drove down to this location. It's like this big empty looking building. I walked in, the security guard in the front. And I walked upstairs and they were interviewing actors. And they had these big like models all over the floor with like this prison camp looking thing and everything. I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going on here. So sat there for 2 hours and like these different producers kept coming up and talking. "Oh, you're Neil, huh?" I'm like, "Yeah, nice to meet you." I'm like, "Yeah, I know you worked on Day of the Dead and everything with our company, Millennium Films." So I kind of sat in this room and was waiting for like 2 hours. And yeah, then this lady came out and said like, "Hey, Sly wants to meet with you right now." I was like, "Sly?" And then like I got up and I walked into the room and it was Sylvester Stallone. And I was like, "Oh my God." And
Oh, wow.
so I went in this office and it was a big empty office with this gigantic wooden desk. And he sat there, shook my hand, and I was just like completely nervous, but I was trying to act like I was cool. And it was nobody else, just me and him. We sat there and talked about how he wants to shoot some of these scenes for the new Rambo film. Like, "Oh, that's what this is. Oh my God." I had no idea. And a lot of jobs are like that. For the bigger movies, you never know what it is until you go in and actually see what's up on the walls. Like, oh, it's Batman versus Superman. Okay, got it. So it's like you just never know. So I was talking with him, and we were talking about working out and everything too. And then he told me he watched a Korean war film, where there's two brothers on different sides of the war. One is the good side, one's the bad side. They both like one starts on the upper hill, one starts on the bottom hill. They both kind of come together like this. So he told me to like think of that when you're designing the shots for the Rambo film. So I worked in it for about 2 weeks, and like then they wound up moving the production over to Burma, and then like they wound up getting a local person to work on it from that point on. But yeah, he was the one, him and also my friend Steve Miner, who directed Halloween H2O and Lake Placid and Friday the 13th 2 and 3, Forever Young with Mel Gibson. They were the ones who kind of saw my artwork and said, you really should move into directing. And I was like, oh, I never really, I'd like to do that. I just didn't quite know how to make that transition to doing it. But yeah, then like one of my friends told me, just go out and shoot some short films. So I put the word out saying, okay, I'd like to with all my friends and my friend group saying, okay, I'd like to actually start directing now. So like if any of you have anything you'd like me to shoot, like a short film or like whatever you want to do, I'll be happy to do it. But like I'll do it for free. And yeah, and then the good thing is when that happened, I had a lot of friends who wanted to work with me as a director of photography, sound people. So I just kind of like pulled everybody together. And I was like, okay, well, just make sure they all get paid for doing their job. I won't take any money. Just take care of everybody else, and we'll make it happen. So that's what I basically did to kind of get things moving. And like, yeah, little by little. I mean, it's just like it's really having a good rapport with people. If you do a good job and don't screw around, you're nice to work with. You're friendly, and you're actually accommodating. You're not like like I think directing's you have to have a vision in your head to be a director, but you also have to have a good team around you too. So I'm open to suggestions. Like you just can't let anyone else like walk over you, because then like when that happens, the crew will lose confidence in you. So you have to kind of get there, know what you're doing, and be confident about every decision that you make. Otherwise, you'll have like someone from the crew. Yeah, why don't you put the camera over here? Yeah, right there. And you're like, no, I would never do a shot like that. You can't be like, oh, okay, yeah, let's try that. No, you have to be very confident. No, we're doing it. Thank you for your opinion, but we're doing it this way. And that's how you do stuff. But getting back to the story, I could go off on tangents all the time. With directing and stuff like that too. Like yeah, so Steve Miner, who's become a good friend of mine, actually, has been like a really good mentor towards me. He and Sylvester Stallone were the ones who said you should really get into directing with the way you come up with your camera shots. And truthfully, a lot of them were influenced by comic books. Because I never went to film school, but like I just was just reading comic books and watching how they do all the angles on that, and I was using that for framing stuff. And then a lot of directors I work with like, how'd you come up with that shot? I'm like, oh, it's a comic book panel from like John Byrne's Alpha Flight number 12. And then they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I kind of have a ridiculous knowledge for this stuff. So yeah, just kind of like think, how can I make this comic book panel or this page look like this? And you really have to think, like, how can I do with these certain camera moves, and like what I can do with it too. But like, yeah, a lot of it was influenced by comic book panels in my storytelling. That's why I started getting a lot of calls for that after a while.
Neil, I was surprised to read, first of all, when you were in university, you were drawing, for tattoo artists. So anyone out there that's doodling, Neil can show you what is possible, because also you did start collecting some Marvel comics, and so there's more than longevity value to comics, obviously, because you've used them in your mind and vision for your storyboards. So it's almost like an alternative to investing in stock.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a lot of the books I read when I was a kid, like X-Men, obviously Alpha Flight, which is the Canadian version of X-Men. Do you know about that? I don't know if you know. Yeah, no. Wolverine?
Yes.
Wolverine was actually, for all, I know I'm going to be a really big geek right now saying this, but Wolverine was actually in Alpha Flight in Canada before he joined the X-Men, for anybody who doesn't know that. So yeah, the Alpha Flight is the Canadian version of the X-Men. So Wolverine was actually in that unit before that. So but those comic books when I grew up have really influenced my storytelling a lot, because there were certain ways that John Byrne, who's a comic artist that I freaking love, he just arranges his panels so beautifully, and I was just kind of looking at that as a kid going, God, I love how he did the storytelling behind that. It's almost like he uses graphic design with the artwork to create these stories. And I looked at that and I was like, okay, let's see if I can steal from him and just put it in the movies. And little by little, when I started storyboarding those kind of things too, it kind of seemed to come together pretty easily. Well, not easily. You have to kind of really think about it. Like, how can I make this graphically so good looking so people can like look at it and go, oh wow, I can't take my eyes off the shot. So it's just like training your brain to kind of think like that. But yeah, comic books are the way that I've learned how to do it.
Well, Neil, let me ask you this.
Neil, how come of all the? Oh, I'm sorry.
Neil, are you a DC guy or are you a Marvel guy?
Marvel, hands down. Yeah. I like a few of the DC characters, but Marvel, I don't know, Marvel's got more heart to it, I guess. So like I like Superman and Batman and, you know, like the Flash. Um, but I was just never really a big DC fan. Like Marvel is like like really kind of got me. Like for example, like Superman is like way too powerful. So like so that like for example, my favorite comic book character is Spider-Man. Always has been obsessed with it. In fact, I'm the same idiot kid that wore a Spider-Man costume and tried to swing off of my garage roof. You know, for all you kids at home, don't ever try doing that. But yeah, with like Spider-Man, what I liked about him was that he was he was like a high school student. I did it again. Sorry about that. Every time I do this thing, like I lose the camera. With like Spider-Man, I liked him because he's more human and he always had challenges. He had an aunt that he was living with. They always needed money. He had to work as a photographer to help pay bills, had trouble with the girl in school, had trouble with the bully. Yet he had to go out and put the costume on and do all this crime fighting at nighttime. And he was always exhausted. And I totally get it. So I think the Marvel characters have a more humanistic side, whereas like a lot of the DC characters are just overly powerful and don't really have that humanistic quality. Except for Batman. Batman had like his family was murdered. Of course, like vengeance is what, you know, kept him pumping all these years. So that's why I've always been a Marvel fan.
That's an excellent analogy. So if Spider-Man's your preferred hero, who's your preferred villain among the comics?
Ooh, that's a good one. You know who I've always liked that doesn't get a lot of publicity is Mysterio. They put him in the last Spider-Man movie, but they didn't do a very good job with him. I liked Mysterio a lot because he was like a former stunt man, and he was always using like optical illusions and like magic to kind of create these environments that screw up his characters. I've always liked him a lot. That was like really cool. And also I like the Green Goblin too. But I remember I thought Willem Dafoe was perfect to play him in that movie. I mean, they didn't even need to he's got such a great look. I freaking love Willem Dafoe. They should have never put him in a metal mask. They should just painted his face green and say, okay, just do it. Because he's just got these great expressions when he talks like Spider-Man, and it was awesome. Yeah, Green Goblin would be like my second favorite character. I do like the Joker too, because the Joker's really messed up, like for the DC side of it. The Joker, there's a comic book called Batman: The Killing Joke that they did make an anime of. But if you read the comic book, it's amazing. It kind of shows you why the Joker is so messed up. They show like a lot of how his childhood was and everything too, and why he's the way he is. And the whole thing is done from the point of the whole thing is done where like the is building up to the point where like the Joker tells a joke to Batman and winds up getting his ass kicked through the project. But yeah, as far as like Marvel characters go, yeah, Mysterio has always been like my favorite.
Neil, so for the Joker, which Joker do you prefer? Do you prefer the dark Joker or the, Jack Nicholson Joker?
I like the darker ones better myself, just because like when I grew up watching the old Batman TV show, which I love to death, with Adam West, they had the Joker on that one that was pretty fun and kind of like he was kind of aloof and kind of crazy, but it was more like fun and like everything was very bright day glow kind of colors. When they went the darker route, like when I saw the Joaquin Phoenix one, I was like, oh my god, it was a really creepy. And you've got to see why he's so messed up the way it was. It was shot very gritty and kind of gross, but he was trying to bring humor into that, with like all the pain he was going through. So I definitely like the darker one a lot better.
I kind of agree. That's why I like the movie The Joker so much, because of the dark side, the psychological way, the meaning behind why he was the way he was. That's why that movie was so intriguing to me, or why I enjoyed it so much.
Mess. I was like, but the way they shot it too was so gritty and gross. And, like you felt like.
But I'm weird. I'm like you. I'm a horror buff. I mean, I grew up on like Friday the 13th and Jason and all that crazy stuff, and I still love it. But now those movies that used to scare me as a kid, now you kind of laugh at them because of the level of how horror movies are made now. It's just kind of funny, but I still enjoy watching them. The classics.
Oh yeah, me too. They influenced all my stuff basically when I was growing up. So, like the horror films too. Like it's like they're fun to watch. They give you the jump scares you want, but they're also like a nice form of escapism too. I mean, really, that's what being entertainment is in the first place. Like you're dealing with stress and everything too. It's always fun to turn on and watch it. Like you can sit there and analyze it about framing shots and how they play into society's roles and all that crap. But I mean, the cool thing is that it's meant to entertain you. and give you a form of escapism, so you can actually enjoy something. If you're having any troubles, like those troubles are gone for like the 2 hours you watch a movie these days. So
yeah, I'm big on like the psychological kind of horror films like Hannibal Lecter and stuff. I mean, that's my favorite things that are horror films that could actually happen.
Yeah.
Those things, those are my favorite.
Oh yeah, because it can really happen. That's what really kind of gets.
Yeah, they can really.
Well, Terry.
Hey, Neil, we got about
So,
30 seconds
Neil,
left.
I read that.
Neil, we got about 30 seconds left. Give your social media links.
Sure. My social media links are, see, you can get me on Instagram. It's Instagram.com/Clan of the Vein, which is a vampire project that my friend Neil and I are both doing together. But it's also my personal page too. We kind of do a mix of both. On Forcer, I'm on the Forcer app. Just look up Neil DeMonte. And I'm also on Twitter under twitter.com/Neil DeMonte. And yeah, I usually post stuff up like every day, a little bit of, like everything, like artwork, memes, all kinds of cool stuff, like movie things that we're working on. So pretty much everything. So yeah, you can always follow me on those websites.
Okay, so for Sherry Nelson, Terry Marie, this is Brian Sebastian. Neil, I want to thank you for being on Movie Reviews and More. And if you see someone,
thank you.
We will see you next week. Thank you so much, Neil.
Cool. Thank you, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.